Sit back, enjoy the view from the On Fek Circle, presented on the Jays from the Couch YouTube channel by jaysfromthecouch.com and the Jays from the Couch radio podcast. This little misadventure comes to you live every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time on said YouTube channel. You can also pick it up on the Jays from the Couch Facebook page and on Twitter at Jays from Couch. And of course, I shamelessly plug the show wherever I can. But lucky for you, it's just not my nonsense that you can watch on the YouTube channel and the various other media sources. There is the main podcast, the Jays from the Couch radio podcast, hosted by our founder and senior editor, Sean Doyle, rotating cast of Jays from the Couch contributors. We've had people like Jordan Romano on and Keegan Matheson and Shai Davidi. We try to engage podcasters and baseball fans from other cities to come on in and try to convince us that their team is better than ours. So it's been around for a long time, and it's never a boring show. You're going to learn something. You'll always have a few laughs. You'll come away with a different perspective. So make sure you tune into that on Mondays, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Or if you can't catch the live stream, you can always go to Google, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple, all the places where the finer podcasts are available. You'll find the radio podcast. And I'm not alone on the YouTube channel. My colleague Karen Suter hosts Sunny Side of the Dome. That occurs on Thursdays, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. The perfect balance of positivity and terrific baseball insight and knowledge. Karen's show is a must watch every single week. Make sure that you tune in, especially if you're a Blue Jay fan. You need to tune in because you do get the balance. Karen will tell you, okay, sure, this is going wrong, but this is what we have to look forward to, and she can always back it up with just an amazing depth of baseball insight and knowledge. So that is Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm your host, by the way. Some people call me the Feckless Wonder. Some people call me things that we can't report and repeat here on the YouTube channel because kiddies may tune in. But we've been here for quite a while. I do try to give you a unique perspective on our Blue Jays. The reason that I chose the On Fek Circle is when you're on an on-deck circle, whether as an amateur player or if you played organized ball, or if you're just sitting, kind of behind the dugouts, on the field level, and you're looking out from that, you can pretty much check anything out in the ballpark from that perspective. So that's what I try to do. I try to give you the different views. You can figure out for yourself. I don't want everybody to necessarily agree with me. I just want you to listen and consider it. And during this live stream, please do feel free, whether you're on the YouTube channel watching, on Facebook, on Twitter, put your questions in or your comments. We want this to be a conversation. Trust me, you don't want me going off on a tangent. You want to have some input and control over what you're about to watch over the next 20 some odd minutes or so. We're going to have 2 weekly features. This Week in Baseball, that comes up in a little bit. It is not Blue Jays centric, but I think when you hear it, it will actually be an advantageous situation for the Blue Jays. And also Blue Jays Way, which is a little historical look at Joe Carter, Carlos Delgado, and our current star, Vladdy Guerrero Jr. But if you notice, I'm a little bit more casually dressed tonight. I have my old school Blue Jays hat on, which I've had, I want to say I bought it in 1983 outside Exhibition Stadium, before there was the Rogers Center. So this hat's been with me a long time because I want everybody to take a deep breath and relax. If you're starting to walk toward that edge and saying the sky dome is falling, things are looking bad, I want to bring you back in a little bit. Usually Karen is the person that's going to give you the more positive viewpoint on what's going on in Blue Jays land. I probably should have a little warning along the bottom saying, please hide all sharp objects before viewing, because I can be pretty direct and pretty blunt about what's going on. If you tuned in a couple of weeks ago, you saw me openly declare war on Ross Atkins in the front office. So those are the kind of things that generally come spewing out of my mouth during the course of this show. But this week, I really do want to give perspective on it, on this season, everything that's been happening, the injuries, and people that are performing above and below what you would expect. So it's not exactly sunny side of the dome. It's more like partly sunny side of the dome. For all you Simpsons fans, you'll know what the reference is there. The Blue Jays, bottom line, are still within easy striking distance of a playoff spot. Now, it's the first couple of weeks of May. So those standings don't mean a whole lot. But the fact is, through everything that has gone wrong on the field, and when I say gone wrong, it's not a negative thing. There's just been a plethora, an avalanche of injuries. There have been some guys that have had some pretty impressive over streaks, and Rowdy Tellez and Danny Jansen, and George Springer has played just a handful of games after signing that big 5-year, $150 million free agent contract. And that, no doubt, is a source of frustration for Jays fans, too, that gets you a little closer to the edge. Maybe your little toes are dangling. It's okay. Through all of that, the Blue Jays are within striking distance of a playoff spot. If a baseball strike happened now, or some other act of God happened, the Blue Jays would be maybe on the outside. I think they're just outside that second wild card spot after the series loss in Houston, but they're still there. So when they came back, they'd be able to, try to finish off the job. So things aren't totally hopeless. The Blue Jays lead the American League in home runs. That's terrific. They're pretty much upper 5 or 6 teams in most offensive categories. Certainly not batting average, but things like, runs scored and runs driven in and batting average. One problem is that the Red Sox lead a lot of those same categories, or they're above the Blue Jays in that. But again, that's pretty impressive. This is an impressive lineup. I would give anything to be able to either pay off Charlie Montoyo or whatever influence I could exert to get Marcus Semien out of the leadoff spot, put him in a RBI spot like 5 or 6, even 4. I wouldn't mind Semien being my cleanup hitter. Not prototypical cleanup hitter, but he may actually excel a little lower in the thing and have Kevin Biggio at the top of the order. Yes, he is one of those guys that have not performed up to expectations, but I mean, he's an on-base machine. So I'd like to see that happen, but this is a pretty impressive lineup, even with Springer being out, even with the various injuries that just seem to happen every day. You have to check your transaction list and see who's hurt now. Mainly pitching injuries, but, Joe Panik's out. Teoscar Hernandez was on the COVID list. So all these different things have happened, and the Blue Jays somehow have hung in there. They're averaging 6.34 runs a game in Dunedin. Now, again, there's only 2 more homestands left in Dunedin, so that is not necessarily a forebearer of what's to come when they go to Buffalo. But, Buffalo was a pretty offensive ballpark. The Blue Jays have scored runs. They have played better and more consistently at home than on the road, and that's what teams need to do. They need to take advantage of that home field. Even if their home field is in a different country, in a state, a couple hundred, actually 1,200 miles from Toronto to Dunedin or something like that, take advantage of that. Now on the road, they were under 3.0 5 for a while. I think, with some of the explosions that happened in Houston, they may have bumped it up a little bit, but still, so that there is that disparity. It's not Coors Field and the Rockies, but it's a disparity. So, but again, they're putting up runs and they're taking advantage of that home field while they're playing down in Dunedin. Another positive thing. Pitching. I can't in good conscience tell you that everything's fine in pitching land, because I just can't. No matter how much I want this to be a sunny side kind of take, I just can't do it. I can't. That's why I could never be a salesman. I just can't take that big lie and and deliver it and make it seem like, of course, this is great. Ryu, Ray, Steven Matz, they have pitched well. They don't pitch deep, but they pitch well. Matz has had his struggles with the long ball. Ray, even when he's walking batters, has been pretty reliable and pretty solid. And Ryu's Ryu. Now that the pain in his butt is gone, he's back off the IL. We expect him to step back into that staff ace role and perform as such. Outside of those three, story's not as good. And by the way, if you missed it, Nate Pearson has been sent back to AAA, Buffalo, Trenton. And Sarah Salita, I am a new Blue Jays fan. What's wrong with our pitching? Well, Sarah, to be direct, it stinks if you're talking about starting pitching. But the bullpen has done Herculean efforts. I pointed out on our podcast last night on Monday that after the Astros game on Sunday, the Blue Jays bullpen has pitched more than 50% of the total innings that the Blue Jays have pitched. And you can't sustain that over 162 games. For this stretch, up through like the first week or two of May, the bullpen has been heroic. And that's tremendous. But in the long run, over the course of a long season, arms get tired. Bodies get tired. You wear down. That's when injuries start to occur. And if you look at the injured list for the Blue Jays, the bulk of the pitchers on that injured list have been used in relief out of the bullpen because they're, maybe some of the injuries might be something that's lingering. I think when Jordan Romano was hurt, was on the IL, and they called it neuritis of the ulnar nerve, that will cause pain down into the finger. And he had an issue with his finger at the end of last year. So that might be a lingering thing that came back and they narrowed it down more to why that pain was there for Romano. But the other relievers, they're soft tissue injuries. They're not blowing out your elbow or tearing up your shoulder. It's soft tissue things. It's, lat muscles and the back and calves, things that really you wouldn't expect a pitcher to suffer from. But relief pitchers are different than starting pitchers. Now, I'm not a doctor, unless you include which doctor. I'm not a doctor. But I can tell you from having played baseball and having followed it all these years, and believe me, it's a lot of years in my case, there's a difference between pitching every 5 days and giving maximum effort, then having that recovery time, and then being asked to do that same maximum effort repeatedly over a number of days without necessarily having any downtime in between, especially in this era of baseball where everything is max effort all of the time. That wasn't always the case, where every time a pitcher came out, they had to throw as hard as they could. They had to get as much spin on the ball to get the downward movement or the breaking pitch to break a little harder. That wasn't as emphasized as it is now. So that leads to pitching injuries. So even though I kind of made a joking response to your question, and Sarah, thank you very, very much for putting up your question. I'm glad you're a new Blue Jays fan. Hopefully that I don't scare you away, but the rest of the Jays from the Couch team can keep you engaged and enjoy these games. But that has been a cause of concern. But the bullpen has done their job. Despite the injuries, despite younger arms in particular pitching in unfamiliar roles, they have gotten the job done when Charlie Montoyo was called on. And we all know that since Charlie came on board in 2019, he's not afraid to go to the bullpen. I'm surprised there's not a reliever warming up during the starting pitchers' warm-ups at the beginning of the game. But again, that's skewing negative. Don't want to do that. It's partly sunny side of the dome tonight, so let's think positive about our Blue Jays. We're still in it. The biggest thing that you should take away and feel great about is that there is not a single team in the American League that has run away and hit, that has been so dominant that you say, this is the team that's going to go and represent the American League in the World Series. Opportunity is there. The team that can juggle their injuries and juggle their player development, yet be aggressive out in the market and bring the pieces in that they need to set them apart from other teams. The team that does that, that's going to be your primary candidate to represent the American League in the World Series. The Blue Jays are in a situation that they haven't really been in a long time, even in 15 and 16 with those really solid playoff teams. This is probably their best chance since the World Championship teams going back to 92 and 93 to take advantage of a weakened league, become the dominant force, and get themselves in the World Series. So that ultimately is the partly sunny side of the dome that we should keep in mind. As frustrating as Springer being out and the starting pitching just not delivering the innings they need to deliver, and other things that go on when you have a younger, still maturing team, base running errors, defensively, there's at least one misadventure a night out there, whether it's Biggio playing out of position or Teoscar Hernandez looking like he's never seen a baseball hit in his direction before. Remember in Moneyball, where the Scott Katterberg character said, was asked what his biggest fear was a ball hit in his general direction. That's kind of the way it is with Teoscar Hernandez in the outfield. But there's positives too. Okay. Randall Grichuk, team MVP. Well, no, because Vladdy's having just a ridiculous year. So that's not really fair. If there was no Vladimir Guerrero, Randall Grichuk is the team MVP, hands down. He has proven, he has stepped up and said, I am an everyday player. I'm worth the $12 million a year you're paying me. I need to go ahead and do that. I'm going to show you that I'm an everyday outfielder. You want to play Springer in center when he comes back? Fine. I'm your everyday right fielder. So that's just one of the many. Santiago Espinal. You know, the continued development of Bo Bichette and Vladdy Guerrero. And even though Lourdes Gurriel has struggled at the plate at times, he hasn't let it affect him defensively. So, I mean, there's still a lot of positive things out there. Danny Jansen has absolutely been magnificent behind the plate, coaxing the pitching staff into positions where the team can win. And that's all you could ask of him. The fact that he's whatever he is, 5 for 50 or whatever godforsaken average he has, he is just been tremendous. And I covered a lot of the games for JFtC.com in the Oakland series. All that the Oakland commentators could seem to talk about was Danny Jansen. and is in a position to call a game and block balls. He's blocked more than 99% of the balls in the dirt for the last 2 years. That's pretty amazing. So there is reason to consider it a sunny side of the Blue Jays season. There's some dark clouds, but they're in the distance still. They're not quite hovering overhead. So it's okay to maintain your positivity, but also keep your eyes open and maintain your objectivity, okay? This tweak in baseball is a tweak to an existing rule change that, as much as I hate it, is not going away. And that is putting a runner on second base to start the 10th inning. I cannot describe the ways that just offends my baseball sensibilities, but it's not going away. It's going to stay there. And it's still better than the options that I keep seeing where they do home run derbies, I guess, in some of the independent leagues to determine who wins in extra innings. That's just even more stupid. But my tweak would be not putting a runner on second, but in the 10th inning, you put a runner on first. Then score still tied. 11th inning, you have a runner on first and second. And God forbid people that want games to end up as quickly as their video games at home goes to a 12th inning, bases are loaded. This actually allows a team that has the knack for the clutch hit and can drive the ball. That gives them a chance to either come from behind and win it if they're the home team, or put a crooked number up on the board and put the pressure on the home team to try to match what they just did. It's a minor tweak. Will they do it? Of course not. But really, it should be, you shouldn't make it easy. Okay, this isn't like college or high school athletics where you put the ball at the 5-yard line and you get 4 downs to try to score the ball or whatever the rule breaking is. Keep it simple, but make it a challenge. It's baseball. Okay, some games will be tied after 9 innings. That's just how it is. And there's no tying in baseball. Okay, so let's actually put a little bit of a challenge into this runner on base. Make them earn. Don't put them on second, where a pass ball could technically score them on the first pitch. I mean, it's not baseball strategy. Make them earn it, but reward them and make it easier as the games go on, because we don't want 17 and 18 inning games. So I think it would benefit the Blue Jays, given their lineup construction and the way they approach at bats. They're an aggressive team. I think having the progressive chances to score as the game goes on is better, and you're not just handing teams an easy opportunity to win the game. Pace of play, there's way more important things pace of play-wise that need to be implemented. Pitcher's clock, batter staying in the batter box, not having 700,000 pitching changes. All those kind of things are going to speed up the game naturally. We don't need to be making it even easier. Why even play extra innings? Why don't you make it like a Stratomatic thing where you just roll the dice? Ooh, snake eyes. Oh, I don't think I'm going to win tonight. I got to hope that the home team rolls a 2 as well. That's fine for home recreational games and fantasy sports. You're rolling the dice to see who wins. Let's make it a baseball game again. Okay, so the closing segment is always something that I call Blue Jays Way. And it's really, in general, about Blue Jays culture. And a question here from Tony Mattingly: give them aluminum bats after 10 innings. If you took out the safety factor of that, Tony, I'm not necessarily against even that. I mean, it's a bit more radical of a change that the union would never allow that. But I mean, there's already pitchers being nearly killed by balls going back, to the mound. Aluminum bats, in essence, is an equipment change. So I don't know that I'm 100% comfortable with that. It's not, if you're against Garrett Cole or Trevor Bauer using Stickum, or any pitcher using Stickum to get better hold on their breaking stuff and increase their spin rate, if you're against that, you really can't go with aluminum bats. I personally say let them spit on the baseball if they have to. If you can make it work for you and you can control it, good. I think that's great. But again, I'm probably in the minority on that one. But the Blue Jay Way segment this week, actually tonight in history, Carlos Delgado passed Joe Carter. Actually, he tied Joe Carter tonight. He passed him tomorrow, what would be tomorrow night, as the franchise's all-time home run hitter, having hit the most home runs in a Toronto uniform. And I want to kind of flash back and remember both of those guys. Many of you are probably more familiar with Delgado. You're not an old grizzled guy like me. And remember Joe Carter. If you look behind me, that's my vintage new edition Joe Carter 1997 Blue Jays uniform when they added the little maple leaf behind the mean looking Blue Jay rather than the circle Blue Jay. Joe Carter was an RBI machine. People forget what a terrific hitter he was. He drove in more than 110 runs 3 times when he was with Cleveland. And then every year in his career from 1989 to 1997, with the exception of the strike year of 94 and 95, which both seasons were shortened, he drove in more than 100 runs. That's amazing. That truly is amazing. And the bulk of that was done. He did, one of those years was Cleveland, one of those years was San Diego. The rest of it was all done in Toronto. People forget how reliable and what a dangerous RBI guy Joe Carter was. And Carlos Delgado, it can be argued, is the best hitter the Blue Jay system ever produced. And that's saying a lot when you think of the Jesse Barfields and the Lloyd Mosbys. George Bell was probably the biggest home run and RBI threat that the Jays had in their early years and when they first started winning, starting in 85. Delgado was just a beast. He was just an absolute beast. And I mean, I remember how sad it was for him to go to another team, to him to go to the Marlins and go to the Mets. I mean, it was a time, a kind of a darker time in Blue Jays history when that happened. But still, I mean, he was just wonderful player to root for. So in these 2 days here, Delgado took his place in Blue Jays history. And it got me thinking also about Vladimir Guerrero, because there's 2 things about those 2 players that might end up applying to Vladimir Guerrero. As good and talented as Vladdy is, and where the sky could be the limit, I don't think that he'll really be appreciated in the long term. And Carter and Delgado are not Hall of Fame players. I don't know that Vladimir Guerrero will ever get the recognition for his talents, strictly because he's such an athletic guy. I don't know he'll ever get that recognition. Kind of sad. But still, that's Blue Jays Way for this week. And this is about the end of the On Fek Circle. Hope you enjoyed the views. Hopefully you didn't mind me skewing a little more positive this week. Make sure you tune in for the ultimate source of Blue Jays positivity and great baseball analysis. That's Karen Suter. That's coming up on Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. The podcast returns next Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Look for me contributing to for game recaps on jamesfromthecouch.com on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Every game, go to James for the Couch the next day for the real story about what happened. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you again next Tuesday from the On Fek Circle.